Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
One Piece, Mini Hearts by cecebeec. Harem story with a twist. Luffy is the new transfer student at the previously all-girls Whole Cake Academy. There he makes friends with the sweet class president, the charming school's treasurer, the level-headed librarian, the head of the campus beautification committee, and many more female characters. Can Luffy survive a whole year with all these beautiful girls? Adios.
When the cherry blossoms fall to the ground, and the scent of perfume fills the air sparkles with a new life and light, as the gates of Whole Cake Academy open for the day. Good morning, Lin-Lin-sama. Hello, class president. You are looking great today. Skipping down the path to school, the familiar appearance of Whole Cake Academy's class president was a happy sight to see among the all-female schoolmates. Charlotte Lin-Lin was the pride of the school, her sweet demeanor catching the eyes of all who met her. She was a pale-faced girl with cute dimples, her pink hair going down to her shoulders, and light pink blush on her cheeks. Wearing the sanctioned school uniform, the little detail she put upon hers was a long pink sweater. Her large backpack held not only her schoolwork and club notes, but a heaping pile of sweets that she would eat between class. Everyone knew not to mess with her when it came to candy, for if you even tried to take her sweets, she would take you out. Having a horrible temper when it came to the sweets, it took minutes to settle her down after a hungry fit. At the moment, she stood at the gates of the school and greeted all the female students coming inside. "Hi everyone, let's have a great day today," she cheered, pumping her fist in the air. "I want to see all you girls do your best as we introduce the newer students today. Let's make them feel welcomed at Whole Cake Academy." "Yes, class president." The girls saluted as the bell rang to signal the new day. Lin-Lin grinned to herself as she turned in all directions before opening up her backpack. Taking out a box of her favorite donuts and a thermos full of hot chocolate, she smacked her lips greedily. "Finally, now I can enjoy my breakfast without any fuss." Taking out a particularly glazed donut, she went to take a bite when it fell from her hands and onto the muddy ground. The pink-haired girl gasped out loud, cursing herself for being so careless with her sweets. Tears sprung from her eyes as she started to sniffle loudly. "Oi, why are you crying like that? You're supposed to be the class president, right?" The sound of a rough male voice surprised her, making her look up to see a rather muscular young man standing over her with a male version of the uniform on. He had black shaggy hair, round black eyes, and a scar on his cheek. A straw hat was slung around his neck on a string and laid lazily on his back. He had one hand in his pocket and the other around a red backpack over his shoulder. His face showed no emotion, but a twinkle of curiosity sprouted in his eyes. Excuse me sir, but you aren't allowed here on school grounds," Lin-Lin said, getting up from the ground and returning to her business-like demeanor. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave before I call the proper authorities." "That's going to be a bit of a problem," the male said, picking up her box of donuts, making Lin-Lin flinch. "You see, I have papers here that says I'm supposed to started going here from this point onwards." What? This was outrageous. No male had ever stepped foot on Whole Cake Academy and left without some girl beating him up and stripping him down to his knickers. Furious of his teasing, she snatched the box of donuts from him and glared. "Who do you think you're fooling? I have seen all the school records for this school and kept track of who comes and goes. I have never heard your name from the principal, nor have I ever heard of something so absurd." Putting her bag on the ground, she pushed the tall boy into the gate, letting her fingers linger a bit longer than usual. The male smirked, grabbing her delicate hand. "Believe it or not, you better talk to your headmistress about this because I am not going without my education." He yanked the pinkette forward until she was in his face. "So how about you lead me to her office, please?" This boy was testing her patience far too many times. She already had to deal with throwing perverts like Sanji Vinsmoke coming into her school. But this one had the most elaborate excuse she had ever heard. Narrowing her eyes, she equally matched his stare with a powerful one of her own. "Oh, believe me, I will." "Well, I never expected you to actually come here, Monkey D. Luffy, but you never was one to never surprise me." Charlotte Lin-Lin was shocked to say the least. Here she was in the office of headmistress Shikayaku, the one woman who held authority over the whole school and smoked on a frequent basis, and the woman approved of the transfer of this delinquent man? Luffy leaned back in the chair he was sitting in, smirking slightly at the reddened face of hers. Told you I was invited to come here. Now you believe me, Prez? He teased the demure beauty, making her clench her fist tightly. Shikayaku blew a cloud of smoke out the open window by her desk. My husband suggested the transfer of his student here in order to see if we can have the male populace attend here next year. He runs the all-male Golden Academy on the south side and had Luffy be personally trained and tutored at our house. Leaning over, she smiled at Luffy. Did he send a letter of recommendation? Luffy reached into his bag and placed a large envelope on the desk. Here ya go, Ms. Shaki. Shikayaku looked over the transcripts and giggled slightly at the note. Rayleigh has gotten funnier over the years with the way he words these letters. Shaking his hand, she nodded. Then welcome to Whole Cake Academy, Monkey D. Luffy. Headmistress, you can't be serious here. A male at an all-female school will cause chaos. His very existence will shake the foundation of what this school stands for. Lin protested, waving her arms wildly. Then how about you lead him around the school and show him the ropes then? That's the job of the class president, isn't it? The world stopped for Charlotte Lin as her horrified face turned to see the grinning one of the male who would be attending her school. This would change everything for her, all that she had worked for to gain her power and authority in this school. Her reputation would be ruined if she was seen with someone like him. Well, class president. Luffy stood up and let his backpack hang over his left shoulder. Shall we head to class? When the cherry blossoms fall to the ground, and the scent of perfume fills the air sparkles with a new life and light, as the gates of Whole Cake Academy open for the day. But now the school will never be the same with the arrival of a male who would soon become king of the academy. When the cherry blossoms fall to the ground, and the scent of perfume fills the air sparkles with a new life and light. As the gates of Whole Cake Academy open for the day, the student council was made up of the most capable ladies in the entire school. They ruled the school with elegance and justice, allowing the ladies of Whole Cake Academy to feel safe and secure when they walked through the halls. They were made up of 4 capable ladies that held their positions with pride, making sure that rules were followed and halls were cleaned. The leader of the council was none other than Charlotte Lin herself. The girls referred to her as Big Mom, due to her maternal personality and sweet attitude. She had dethroned the previous president with a campaign that promised equality for all girls no matter their race, home life, or otherwise. This pleased the females of the school and they all agreed that a president that loved everyone was needed for the new rebranding of the school. The best part about Lin's rule was her annual tea parties in which a select few of students got to go to the special garden behind the school and have a grand old time. The vice president of the council was the stern, but bubbly Khalifa. The blonde-haired Megain was a well-respected member of the council due to her contributions in the disciplinary committee. Running that club and then being in the council secured her position as the vice. Her job was fairly simple. She kept the notes, assigned the respective roles to the student body, and made sure the clubs around the school were running properly. The cute addition to her school uniform was the black coat she wore over her clothes. School treasurer Nami was the next member of the council. Once a thief that stole from everybody's pockets, Lin made sure to keep her from doing so by making her in charge of the school's budget. While some thought this was a terrible idea, they were surprised to find out that Nami had a gift with currency and saving money for school trips and events. The orange-haired beauty was reliable and navigator-savvy as well when it came to such trips. The cute addition to her school uniform was the green and white striped sweater she wore over her body. Lastly was the blue-haired female secretary Nefertari Vivi. Being the voice of reason and bringing the heart of the group, she was a student that believed in everyone. Being on the council was due to the fact that she had such a large following among the campus, everyone calling her Princess Vivi. Her job was to make sure that the meetings ran smoothly and without interruption. Her cute addition was the golden bands she wore around her neck, hands, and legs. Mama. Seems that we are all here, Lin said, leaning over the podium. I like to call the first official meeting of the new year to start. Turning her attention to Vivi, she nodded. Please start reading off the notes from the last meeting from the end of the semester. Leaning back on her chair, She opened a bag full of jelly beans and snacked on them. Right. Vivi took out her tablet and read aloud. We made great progress with the beautification of the newest history wing, had a successful bake sale thanks to Pudding and Makita's contributions, and managed to raise enough money to go to the beach this year. Nami pumped her fist happily. I told you I could make sure that bake sales sold tons of money. Crossing her arms, she gave a smug look at Khalifa. You all said it couldn't be done. Khalifa pushed up her glasses in annoyance. What you did was sexual harassment of the female body. Selling baked goods to the juvenile facility and Golden Academy while wearing those skimpy bunny suits was such an embarrassment. No matter, we managed to raise the money and that's it. Vivi said, diffusing the feud that was about to break out between the two. Now we have to decide what new events to plan for the. Lin slammed her hands on the podium angrily, startling the other girls and spilling her jelly beans. We don't have time for that. I have a more pressing matter to ask you girls that doesn't involve sweets for a change. The trio's eyes widened at this declaration. Lin-San was never one to break her cute facade they had come to know. Often she would throw fits of anger or rage whenever they ran out of snacks in the common room or someone nearly burned down the home economics room. So hearing about something that caught the attention of the sweet girl was something to take notice of. Oh, was there something wrong with the bathrooms on the third-floor hallway again? Nami asked with an eyebrow raised. I informed Miss Kokura about fixing them before we came back. Not that. A boy has entered the premises today. That's nothing new, President. I'll inform Reiju-san to kick him out swiftly and immediately, Khalifa said, taking out her cell phone to call the other member of the disciplinary committee. You aren't listening. She could feel another tantrum coming on, her face turning red with anger. He's now enrolled at the school and is now attending, slamming her fist against the projector screen. It rolled down as the projector turned on to show the picture of Monkey D. Luffy. How did she even do that? Vivi wondered aloud, impressed by her class president's prowess. Well, I'll give him one thing, he is kinda cute, Khalifa said, adjusting her glasses once more. What do you think, Nami? Isn't he quite the catch? Nami felt a sense of nostalgia when she saw his face appear on the screen. Her eyes widened as the memory of her summer days in her old hometown came back to her. Wait, where are you going? I never got to thank you for saving me. Little Nami was seen running towards the moving vehicle as she reached a hand out. At the window of the vehicle was a small boy with short black hair wearing a worn-out straw hat. This young lad was visiting Kokoyashi Cove on vacation with his family and had befriended the small girl. Throughout the trip, she and him were inseparable, constantly making mischief and eating tangerines at her mother's grove. They enjoyed each other's company a lot, Nami feeling happier than she ever had. On one of the final days of his trip, Nami had been bullied by a bunch of older boys led by a mean one named Arlong. They pestered and teased poor little Nami to the point of which she was afraid to even go outside. The Straw Hat Boy left his trusty hat with him as he and his older brothers took out Arlong's gang and saved the town and her as well. She had planned on thanking him before he left, but was saddened to find out that they had left the inn that morning. Now she was running to catch up to the car. Luffy, I think your summer girlfriend is trying to tell you something. The freckled brother sitting up front teased as the car stopped at a red light. Ace, that wasn't very mature of you. The blonde-haired brother pointed out, but gave Luffy a reassuring smile. Make it quick though, Luffy. We have to get back home before Gramps hears that we left for the entire summer. Luffy nodded, opening the car door and leaping out on the sidewalk. Nami stopped to catch her breath before bowing slightly in front of him. I want to thank you for playing with me and saving the town. She stood up and gave him a grin. What you did back there was so amazing and I don't want you to go, can't you stay longer? Luffy gave her a surprised look before patting Nami on the head. I'm sure we'll cross paths again someday. I believe this meeting we had was just the beginning. The car honked loudly, signaling to Luffy it was time to go. Nami didn't hesitate as gave a quick peck on his cheek before blushing madly. The boy placed his hand gently on the spot before smiling softly. He got into the car and waved as they left the cove for the summer. Which is why I plan on getting him out of our school. Nami snapped out of her thought when she heard the president declare this. Vivi and Khalifa gave Lin what appeared to be a look of utter horror. The pinkette crossed her arms and huffed as she showcased her ban LRLs. I'm confused, didn't you just say that he was allowed to attend here? Why would you want to get him out? Vivi asked cautiously, not wanting to enact her rage mode. Simple Vivi, this is supposed to be an all-girls academy. Meaning that boys aren't allowed to come here unless they want to kiss the ground we walk upon. Lin swallowed another handful of jelly beans. The way I see it, if he can survive an entire year here, the headmistress will allow more of his kind to entire our clean halls and stink up our natural environment. Clenching her fist, she growled at his picture once more. Plus, I can't stand him in the slightest. He stared me down this morning, my signature stare did nothing on him, it like he doesn't fear death or something. Aren't you perhaps taking this a bit too far? Nami said, placing her textbook down. How are we supposed to get him out of school? He probably enjoys being here as much as we do. You know, there might be ways to kick him out or make him leave, Khalifa said coyly, smirking. There are many rules in place that every girl has to follow, and since he is a student here now, he has to follow them too. Lin grinned maliciously as she rubbed her palms together. I like the sound of that, Khalifa. How about you meet me down at Spider's Cafe to discuss ways of getting rid of this manly menace? Snapping out of her cruel, business demeanor, she gave a sweet smile. This meeting is adjourned. See you guys next week for our meeting on what to do for the spring festival. Gathering up her bags of jelly beans, she grimaced. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to show that man around the school. I've had him waiting outside the door since this morning after the headmistress told me to bring him around. Wait, so he was waiting outside the door the whole time? Vivi ran to the door and lo and behold, Luffy was seen sitting on the uncomfortable bench, knocked out and snoring. Oh my goodness, he fell asleep. Khalifa shook her head in disgust. How uncouth. Clearly this is a work of sexual harassment if I ever seen it. Nami only chuckled as she watched a fake smiling Lin go up and punch the snoozing boy right in the head, causing him to fall off the bench. Rubbing his head, he glared at her so intensely that the other three could feel pressure weighing them down. What in the world made you punch me on the head? Luffy yelled, a large bump forming on top. Lin huffed and placed her hands on her hips. Consider this your wake-up call. When you roam these halls, I'm in charge here, not you. I'm the leader, the captain, the big mom, as the ladies call me, and you are one of my many subordinates. Smiling cutely, she put her hands together and wiggled her hips. Of course you could always fight back and hit me as hard as you can. I won't move an inch so you can get a clean hit. I see what she's doing. Knowing him, he would obviously take this time to enact his revenge and punch her back, and since she has such an innocent demeanor about her, he could get expelled for fighting, Nami thought. Biting her lip nervously, she hoped he didn't take the bait as she saw Khalifa getting out her phone from her purse in case she had to gather evidence. Luffy sighed, not wanting to cause trouble on his first day here. No way, you aren't worth punching in the face. Lin blinked, not expecting somebody to deny her. Excuse me, did you just say? Yeah, I'm not going to punch a girl, no matter how evilly cute she is. I was raised to respect women, never harm them. What kind of a leader hurts the ones he's supposed to make friends with? All four of them felt their hearts thump wildly at his proclamation, but Lin's bopped against her chest the hardest. Did he just call her cute? Sure, she was used to hearing it from other girls and upperclassmen, but no man had ever had the guts to call her out and call her cute too. Lin felt heat rising to her cheeks as she grabbed his hand and led him down several corridors to the main entrance. Whatever, it's not like I like hearing you say that. You're just using those manly charms to seduce me into a false sense of security. Well, it won't work on me, and didn't I tell you to call me leader? Slam! Lin felt herself jump slightly for the first time ever as Luffy slammed his hand against a wall behind her. Let me make myself clear. I will become friends with all the females in this school and treat them like the queens they are. His face showed determination as Luffy leaned himself forward to the blushing beauty. So no matter what happens, I want to be friends with you, Charlotte-chan. Lin felt herself getting overwhelmed by all these sudden emotions as she promptly passed out. Falling forward, Luffy caught her fallen body and sweat dropped. Of all the times she chooses to take a nap, this might be the worst. I thought the only thing to love was sweets and sugar, but maybe I can love something else for a change. When the cherry blossoms fall to the ground, and the scent of perfume fills the air sparkles with a new life and light. As the gates of Whole Cake Academy opened for the day, Charlotte Lin was not one to pass out. She was the calm and collected school president, ruling the school with her sweet, yet firm disciplinary skills. She always had to keep a cool head. Something about this boy, this monkey D. Luffy, made her inside want to crawl out and burst. Perhaps it was the way he stood up to her stare that could usually bring an entire squad of cheerleaders down on the ground by the sheer pressure alone. The pink-haired girl groaned as she leaned upwards, the sun stinging her eyes a bit. Where the heck was she anyways? The white bedding and soft plush blanket made her believe that she was at the nurse's office. Rubbing her forehead, which now had a roll of bandages around it, she turned to see the black-haired boy chatting with some other girl. The blonde-haired girl was now laughing at something he said, causing a big grin to appear on his face. Seriously, did he really do that? The girl asked, tears streaming down her face. Yup, Usopp managed to not only piss off Mr. Nolan, but was sent to detention for lying about being the one who wrote the graffiti around school. Told the others at detention that he got in by beating up the toughest guy in school. Luffy said, shaking his head. Almost miss going to the same school as him and the other guys, but this all-female academy ain't so bad. Especially since I got to meet the amazing Kaya that Usopp keeps telling me about. I thought you were fake since he tells so many stories. Now she recognized that girl. Kaya was a student who took the nursing route and spent countless hours training in the school's infirmary under the watchful eye of Dr. Kureha, the school's doctor. The young girl was a sickly thing when she first arrived here, passing out during physical education class to the point that she was banned from going. Hence why she spent most of her time in the infirmary and decided to take a nursing route instead of the various other options. Oh, class president Lin-San. Kaya finally noticed the female staring at them with a weird look in her eyes. You're finally awake? Luffy told me you passed out in front of him when you were about to take him on a tour. Just so happened that I bumped into him and lead him towards the infirmary to get you checked up. Don't worry, you just got a minor bruise from falling. Lin cleared her throat and smiled sweetly. Thank you so very much, Kaya. I feel so much better thanks to you. Luffy rolled his eyes. You can cut the sweet crap cause it doesn't work on some people. Die. Lin thought, sending a glare towards the Straw Hat Boy. I'm just being polite, that's all. Kaya stood up, sensing tensions rising in the eyes of both Luffy and Lin. If I may interject, why don't you two head to lunch together? You missed most of your classes by staying here, President, and you need to eat something. Lin crossed her arms, looking away from Luffy. Who said anything about me being hungry? I'm fine. I need to finish this stupid tour and get this bonehead schedule done so he can be out of my R. Blushing, she turned back around to see the smug face on Luffy. I suppose we could go to lunch. The school dining hall, a place where you can get the most fanciest of foods from cultures all around the world. Due to the funding they received from the All Blue Lunch Cooperation, the girls get the most deliciously fresh produce and meat to satisfy even the hungriest of females. All the tables are cleaned and sanitized before they enter to ensure the eating conditions are pristine. You form two lines, one for drinks and desserts and the other for your main course. When selecting a place to sit, one must remember what club or similarities you have with your fellow female before dining with them. After all, meeting new people requires like minds. Wow, you are just going to eat all that cake? Luffy watched with a look of surprise as he held his lunch tray in the drink and dessert line. Lin had not even gone down the main courses and instead to opt for just 5 plates worth of devil's food cake, 2 plates of carrot cake, and a giant slice of confetti cake. The woman who manned the line just gave her a smile and shrugged at the boy. You get used to it, she always grabs the most of my sweets. The brunette woman gave a smile towards him. Welcome to Whole Cake Academy, I'm Pudding. I make the cakes and cookies and any other item that's sweet here. I also run a bakery downtown as well. Hey, I recognize you, Sanji talks about your bakery a lot. Luffy said, giving her a smile. He says you make the most divine donuts. Pudding grimaced at the name of the pervy boy who frequently ventured into her bakery. So I've been told. I do see that one daily. It's like he waits for me to open up. Handing Luffy a cupcake, she smiled and winked. This one's on the house. You look like you could use something sweet today. Thank you, you're too kind. Luffy said, genuinely happy to have another female smile at him today. Being around the class president was draining any positive vibes he had coming into school that day. After paying for his meat-filled lunch, Luffy gazed around the cafeteria looking for Linlin. When he saw her giving him the stink eye from the table where all the officers sat, he thought to find another table to eat lunch with instead of dealing with her bratty attitude. Making his way to the back of the cafeteria near the large windows, he sat down and ate his lunch in solitude. He could hear the whispers of all the girls nearby, some wondering what he was doing at their school while others wondering if he was single. He never got this much attention at his old school unless there was somebody who wanted to pick a fight with him. The sound of a slamming lunch tray snapped him out of his thoughts. His eyes turned upwards as a slim, curvaceous young woman, with long light pink hair and brown eyes plopped down in front of him. She wore the standard uniform, however, a large brown coat covered her arms and a green hat rested on her head. She had an anti-eyebrow below her right eye and bright red lipstick on her lips. Luffy saw that her tray was packed with mostly pizza slices that the cheese oozed off the side like a waterfall. Without saying a word, she started wolfing down each slice, causing a sloppy mess to erupt in front of him. Hey? Luffy waved at her, getting thoroughly disgusted at her lack of table manners. Could you mind not flickering all that cheese over here? It's getting on some of my meat. Swallowing, the girl gave him a lazy look before speaking. Excuse me, sometimes I tend to enjoy my food to the point that it disgusts people. At least you were courteous enough to ask me to stop. Propping her head on her head, she gave him a look. What's a boy like you doing at an all-girls academy? Some of the girls said that you lied to get your way in or that you bribed somebody. What's your real motive? Luffy took a giant chunk out of his turkey leg, surprising the girl. I just got invited to join here for a semester, that's all. I went to the all-boys school a few blocks away before coming here. Scrunching his face, a thought passed by his mind before he pointed at her. Wait a minute. You're one of those worst generation members. I saw you at the meeting last week eating large tub of ice cream. Worst Generation was a club down at the local recreation center where students from different backgrounds would go and train themselves for the real world. It was part learning, and equal part fight club. Luffy and some of his friends frequent there and were official card-carrying club members. So you did recognize me, Luffy. Nice to see your brain still works after that fight you had with Kid last week. I'm Bonnie, a second year here and I love eating. She gestured at her pile of pizza, which I was enjoying until I got kicked from the table. I usually sigh here to chat with you. Not going to lie, but it's nice to see a familiar face around here. Most of these girls are judging me without even knowing me. I wanted to make new friends here like I did at the old school, but no one wants to get to know me. Except for maybe Kaya, but I know her boyfriend. Bonnie shrugged. Well, I know you and I can help you gain more friends before the end of the week. Taking another large bite of pizza, she smirked at him. You need to get some allies on your side if you ever think of beating the class president at her own game. Word on the street is that she's trying to get you kicked out before the semester is over for some reason. This made Luffy frown. He knew that the sweet president was a bitter person deep down, but trying to get rid of him sounded like she really disliked him. Bonnie was right. If he wanted to survive this place, he was going to need some allies and friends. Polishing off his last bite, he stared at Bonnie with a pleading look. I could use your help in getting the girls to at least talk to me. For that to happen, I'm going to need you to tell me how this school works. Lin Chan hates my guts and she doesn't need to say it for me to know. The bell sounded as the students transitioned to their next classes, dumping their trays and taking their bags with them. Luffy saw Lin-San walking over to where he was with her arms crossed and a look that could kill him if it could. Bonnie glanced over her shoulder and whistled. You weren't kidding, she really doesn't like you. Scribbling on a napkin, she handed it to Luffy. Meet me after school at the rec center and I'll tell you how the school hierarchy works. And don't tell that Zoro friend of yours anything about what we discuss. I really don't like him. Brushing crumbs from her lap, she gave him a salute before scooching past the angry class president. Luffy stood up and grabbed his tray. Shall we continue the tour then or lack thereof? Lin grabbed him by the tie and started walking out. This time, we are having no distractions. I'm taking you around the school whether you like it or not. All Luffy could do was follow as she nearly choked him. A boy entering our school? How interesting. The sound of shuffling papers and books were heard inside the school library as a young female third year was seen reading the files of the newest transfer student. Nami was also there, sitting at a long table with the other girl as she went through the budget. His name is Luffy and I'm pretty sure I've met him before. Don't know if he noticed me or something, Nami said, blushing at the prospect of speaking with the new boy. Something just doesn't add up though about his transfer. He came out of nowhere, and not only that, but Linlin wants him expelled so that no other boy can attend here. He doesn't seem like a bad guy though. The female leaned forward, sipping a cup of coffee before smiling mischievously. Then I guess some investigating is in order. We'll see what this boy is capable of. I thought the only thing to love was sweets and sugar, but maybe I can love something else for a change. I believed that the only way to happiness was through money, but you changed my point of view. When the cherry blossoms fall to the ground, and the scent of perfume fills the air sparkles with a new life and light. As the gates of Whole Cake Academy open for the day. Whole Cake Academy, well known for their advancements in the fine arts and education. The best place for studying is in the Ohara Library, a donation made by the company to help better the education system and make sure that all girls get a passing chance at the college of their choice. Led by Nico Olvia, one of the many parent sponsors, she was allowed to be the school's official librarian along with a free scholarship for her daughter. And thus, the school got their head librarian and one of the brightest minds in the States. The echoing sounds of the large doors opening made Nico Robin jump a bit. The long-haired beauty from the third year looked up to see the new transfer student alongside the class president. Being the school's brightest student and working in her mother's library, Robin had herself in check. Her dark eyes scanned the two while she placed her reading glasses on her head. Her school uniform was different from the others, with her long purple shirt, long indigo skirt, and brown loafers. A cute flowery jacket was tied around her waist. Here's the last place on our tour. This is the Ohara Library, home of every subject known to the town. You can find help in the tutoring sessions held every Wednesday here by our star student, Nico Robin. She heard Linlin whisper. While I am not here all the time due to my duties as class president, she's always here taking her classes online. How come she gets to do that? The new student, Luffy was it, asked. Because her mom works here at the school. Lots of other girls have their mothers work here and get to come here on scholarship. Our school accepts all types after all. Linlin bragged, making Robin roll her eyes. I'll leave you here and someone will come by and drop off your schedule. So you aren't going to even stay for the rest of the day with me? How disappointing. Luffy teased the pink-haired girl who clobbered him on the head. Shut it. I'm leaving because I need to make up my classes and get the work I missed lugging you around this whole time. Giving him a glare, she flipped her hair and left the library. Robin slowly walked towards the new guy on campus as he got up and looked around. There it was, the look she always enjoyed when new students entered the library. 3 levels, 27 rows, and a multitude of computers for all students to enjoy, so who wouldn't want to spend their days perusing the place at their leisure? She watched him, curious about his every move. Ever since Nami had came in earlier, she had his file looked over and told her mother to help make a suitable schedule for him. Now that she had an eye on him, she was surprised to see a sad look on his face. Man, here I was thinking that I could make a good first impression, but no one besides the people I know would even talk to me. A melancholy sound came from his mouth as he sat down on a stool. Will I be able to survive this new semester? Robin watched as he clenched his fist and stood up. No, I refuse to quit just because Charlotte Chan or anybody tells me. I will make it a full semester. I will make friends here, and I will rule the school by the end of the term. He grinned widely, a look of hope on his face. After all, these girls all seem really cool and I would love to be friends with all of them, and maybe. Touching his hat, Robin saw a wistful look in his eyes. I'll find out what happened to my mother. Robin's heart started fluttering a bit at this proclamation. The file hadn't mentioned a mother at all. She saw that his father worked at the local university that his other brothers attended. His grandfather was one of the best police officers in the city. And from what Nami told her, they'd lived in the city all their lives thanks to a family friend. There were many things that didn't add up about this boy, like why he really wanted to come here or the reason why the headmistress wanted to integrate the male populace with the school. Hey, I know you're here, Nico Robin. You can come out now. Robin squeaked as she saw his eyes turn towards where she was hiding behind one of the bookshelves. Please, it would be nice to have someone to talk to when everybody else won't. Whatever do you mean, Straw Hat-san? She finally decided to answer, her voice being more mature and refined than Luffy had imagined. I think you're interesting for attending this school. I find your presence quite refreshing since hardly anyone visits here. Why on earth would nobody come to the library? I like reading books about adventure, pirates, and finding lost treasures. Sabo would always read to me when we were younger since he wanted me to be ahead in school. Luffy leaned against the bookshelf, sincerity in his voice. If I told him about doing this endeavor, he would encourage me to do my best. Ace would too, but he might be jealous that I'm at a school on Rayleigh's recommendation. Robin gasped when she heard this. No way, he runs the Golden Academy. I've heard many stories about how he runs an entire school full of great men. Chuckling, she pushed aside some books to see the boy whom she was chatting with. So is he really terrifying as they say he is? Well, he can be a bit strict, but he's a wise guy who treats all the guys with respect. Like Miss Shaki, he doesn't mind where you come from or what your situation is. He took me in as an apprentice and taught me how to defend myself. Luffy's eye wandered upwards to see the pretty face of the older girl. Smirking, he slowly rose up to meet her surprised face. Oh! Robin flew backwards, hitting herself on the shelf behind her. A bit of the books on the top shelf as she fumbled with her glasses on her head. I didn't think you'd, She stopped mumbling when she felt him wrap his arms around her tall frame. Luffy sighed happily as he felt happiness since the first time he came here. This girl, this Nico Robin, felt like a true friend to him. Robin patted his back with a warm smile on her face. You know, if you need someone to tell you the rules and how this school was made or just someone to help with homework, I can help you out. Robin suggested, leading Luffy to a computer. Now let's print out a schedule for your classes. Tomorrow is a big day after all, your first day of real school. Robin-san, will you be my friend please? Luffy asked the girl who gave him another pat on his head, watching Luffy's eyes droop a bit. Sure Luffy, I'll be your friend. Wrapping her jacket around his tired body, she laid him down in the comfiest chair by the computer. Another figure walks into the library, looking like an older Robin with long white hair and wearing a white coat. This was Nico Olvia, Robin's mother. Robin, it's time for us to. Oh, I see you've met the newest transfer. Smiling, she stared down at the young man. How is it that the only person to come to the library is the new young man that everybody's been talking about? Charlotte Katakuri considered himself a patience man. He worked a decent job at his cousin's bakery and helped raise most of the children at the orphanage. He and his other brothers had arrived there years ago and bought a house nearby for some of the residents. He had a strange facial condition that made him wear a scarf around his mouth. Right now he was cooking dinner for the residents of the Charlotte household as they came back from elementary, middle, high, and even college. It was a big enough house for all the adopted siblings and everyone had a room and food. The door opened at the entrance to reveal the watery-eyed figure of Linlin. How was school today? Katakuri asked his adopted little sister. Linlin gave him a teary whimper before her face turned red with anger. School was fine Curry, school was great. For a first day I'd say it went kinda great. Who am I kidding? Smashing her hand against the wall, she made a large hole appear. I hate him. ID Luffy, I want you gone. Running up the stairs, she slammed the door of her room and screamed. Oven looked up from his spot at the table and raised an eyebrow. Sounds like she met someone special. Daifuku chuckled from the other side of the table. So who's going this time to see who it is? Katakuri pulled out the dinner from the oven and sighed. Guess this time it's me. Next episode. Luffy has to choose a club activity, but Linlin doesn't want to make it easy for him. Luckily with the help of the president of the Beautification Club and the animal lovers enthusiastic, maybe he can make some tracks. Then, he meets the toughest guy he'll ever encounter, Linlin Sama's adopted brother. Next time, the right club, Luffy, Hancock, and the bunny girl. I thought the only thing to love was sweets and sugar, but maybe I can love something else for a change. I believed that the only way to happiness was through money, but you changed my point of view. Why do you make me so curious? Why does my heart flutter around you, when the cherry blossoms fall to the ground? And the scent of perfume fills the air. The air sparkles with a new life and light. As the gates of Whole Cake Academy opened for the day was going off great for Boa Hancock. Oh, you don't know who Boa Hancock is? If you attend Whole Cake Academy, you should know who the most beautiful girl in the school is. Don't believe that liar Alvida who says otherwise. With her very tall and slender frame with long black hair, who could say otherwise? Dark brown eyes with long, voluminous eyelashes and pale skin made her look very ethereal. She also had a narrow waist and very large breasts that made all her classmates jealous or have a big crush on her. Being one of the most popular girls in school also meant she even had a unique outfit to go with her school uniform. Her purple floral vest she put over her long-sleeved sweater, a pleated lilac skirt, and a cute snake charm bracelet on her arm. Along with her little sisters, who also attended the school as second years while she was a third year, they ran the school's campus beautification committee. Their job was to make sure no one litters on the school grounds, make sure the walls are covered with art made by the students, and helps decorate the school for events. It was a tough job, but she was the perfect woman for the case. So when she heard rumors that a young man was now attending the academy, Hancock was obviously mad. This was an all-girls school, not an integrated high school. How dare he let himself walk on the same campus as all her sisters in arms? What was the headmistress thinking when she allowed him in? No matter, she would see what this boy was made of and then decide whether to help the class president in her endeavor or perhaps befriend him. Placing the file down of Monkey D. Luffy, she walked towards the window and gazed out at the academy. Even though Charlotte Linlin ran the school, Boa Hancock was known as the second in command if ever she left. Her hardcore training regiments to the beautification squad and the push to make sure every female got a chance at graduation made her the ideal leader. Her eyes scanned the area before seeing the leader of the disciplinary squad go towards the gate once again as the crowd of its usual boys who wanted a peek at the school's beauties. Oh well, she thought as she walked out the clubroom. Guess it's just going to be one of those days. Morning Luffy, you're looking happy today. Luffy smiled as Bonnie ran up to walk with him to school. As usual, she had a large breakfast sandwich in one hand and a large fruit smoothie in the other. It amused him how much she could eat and still keep her slim physique. He stopped to let her catch up to him, making her huff in annoyance as she took another bite of her breakfast sandwich. Hey Bonnie, what's up? You wanted to get to school early too? He gave her a cheeky grin, making Bonnie roll her eyes. Not exactly, I wanted to get to Miss Mikita's cafe before school started and she opens early enough for me to grab a bite to eat. Taking another swig of her smoothie, she gave Luffy a look. Now today's an important school tradition for all the girls, so listen up. Luffy gave her an attentive stare before nodding. Thanks to Robin and her mother last night, he was able to get his schedule and a couple of books to study from. Mrs. Nico was kind enough to let him have free access to the library when he needed a break from the craziness and Robin offered to tutor him in any subject he wanted. Thanking the two for their generous offer, and for the dinner they bought him, he made his way home with a smile on his face. It was a rocky first day, but he managed to make it. Today's the day you have to choose a club. Now the club fair is a brutal affair since all the girls want to get into the best 3 clubs. Baking Club, Female Samurai, and Beautification. The Baking Club makes all the stuff for school fundraisers and events, but you get to learn how to make most of the treats they sell at the school cafeteria. Miss Pudding runs the club on the days where her bakery closes early. Next is the Female Samurai, which is a fancy way of calling it sword fighting for girls. It's run by Lady Kuina, who is a brutal woman that can use a blade pretty well. Last is the School Beautification Club, which makes the school look nice and pretty for any guest that come. The leader of the club is notably known as the most beautiful girl in the whole school, Boa Hancock. She only has the best females in the school join her club since she's very selective. Bonnie stopped, making Luffy turn around to see her shaking her head. Whatever you do, don't look at her back. One time, this girl saw her back and had to move schools out of fear. She seems very sensitive about it, but if you get on her good side, you'll have a powerful ally added to your ranks. Gotcha, avoid staring in the 3 clubs mentioned. Anything else? Luffy stopped to see a massive crowd of males from the schools of the surrounding area standing in front of the school's gates. He recognized some uniforms from his old school Golden Academy before he saw the head of a familiar blonde-haired male. Sanji. What are you and all these guys doing here? The group of guys turned and narrowed their eyes at Luffy, making the male narrow his eyes back. Sanji ran towards Luffy and promptly kicked him on the head. What the heck was that for Sanji? Luffy yelled, rubbing the side of his now throbbing head. You lucky idiot! How dare you not tell me about your transfer to Whole Cake Academy? He yelled, shaking Luffy by the collar. This is a dream come true for some of us and you get to live it. Now hold on just a second. What is going on out here, Sanji? What are you doing with these group of boys? Luffy turned around to see a slim young woman with shoulder-length light pink hair covering her right eye and curling upwards at the tips. She also had purple eyes, wore light pink lipstick. Wearing the standard school uniform, the little addition she had to hers was a long purple scarf that wrapped around her neck. On her head were a pair of headphones that were black and white. Reiju, what are you doing here so early? Sanji exclaimed, backing away from the gate where his older sister stood. I was setting up our booth for the club fair today. Are you and your little friends trying to break into school again? Because I just went to the chemistry lab a few minutes ago to pick up a fresh shipment of poisonous gas just for the occasion. Reiju pulled out a can of what appeared to be a purplish liquid inside a spray can. The boys and Sanji immediately started running off, leaving a bewildered Luffy and an amused Bonnie to watch. Reiju sighed and placed the can in her pocket. That's what they get for trying to break in again, she muttered, turning to Luffy. Sorry about my little brother, he can be such a pervert. He always tries to get into school every other week to see all the girls. That's why I'm part of the school's disciplinary squad to keep him and others out. Nice to meet you, Reiju-san. Save it. Everybody knows your name. The only boy in an all-girls academy can cause quite a stir. I'll be keeping my eye on you, Monkey D. Luffy. So no funny business. The third-year student said, walking off with a smirk on her face. Luffy gave Bonnie a tired look. Will this be happening all the time now? Bonnie chuckled. Brace yourself, this day has just begun. You didn't have to walk me to school today, Katakuri Oni-san. Linlin pouted as she tugged hard on the straps of her pink backpack. Her large brother walked beside her, carrying a ton of boxes in his arms. Pudding had asked him to bring most of her utensils to give a baking demonstration to get girls more involved for the baking club. Numerous people stared at the strange sibling duo as the large man wearing a scarf around his face and the petite female made their way to Whole Cake. I had to go help Pudding set up anyways, and I wanted to meet your newest student, Katakuri said, getting int boy. Would he be the type to chase girls for their panties? Would he put his cute little sister in danger? If he does so much as scratch Linlin the wrong way, he would find a way to make him pay. Linlin flipped her hair back and snarled. That Monkey D. Luffy is going to pay for what he's done to me. I am going to make sure he doesn't join an after-school activity. Making contact with the list of clubs listed on the recruit list, I made sure no girl would ever allow a male student to join. That way, the headmistress will have him expelled for good. Katakuri rolled her eyes at her antics. She would get so obsessed over the little things that she would drive herself into a frenzy. He recalled how she threw a big temper tantrum just because she couldn't eat a special cake that Mother Caramel had made for all the orphans back at the orphanage. This tantrum, however, caused the building to burn down due to her hunger pangs and rage. Whoever this punk Luffy was better watch out if she ever got that angry again. I thought the only thing to love was sweets and sugar, but maybe I can love something else for a change. I believed that the only way to happiness was through money, but you changed my point of view. Why do you make me so curious? Why does my heart flutter around you, when the cherry blossoms fall to the ground? And the scent of perfume fills the air. The air sparkles with a new life and light. As the gates of Whole Cake Academy opened for the day, it was finally happening. Monkey D. Luffy didn't think such a day was possible. He was going to have a normal day at school for once. After the incident at the gate, he and Bonnie went their separate ways, promising to meet each other at the same lunch table they sat at yesterday. He pulled out his class schedule, silently singing praises to Robin and her mother for all their help, and went to his first class of the day, science. The second he walked into the classroom, he was immediately glared at by the entire class. Most girls moved their spots in order to avoid messing with him. Some downright ignored the fact he was there in the first place. They had all moved to the sides and back of the classroom, leaving Luffy a spot up in the front. He sighed, still having hoped to make a couple of friends to study with and maybe hang out after school. As he was bringing out his materials, one of the girls sat down next to him, much to the shock of the others. She had short green hair and dark purple eyes, which were scanning the contents on his desk. In her hair was a starfish hair clip. Her school uniform was decked with sparkly buttons, cute pins, and other baubles. Her backpack was decorated the same way, being an ocean blue color and having a mermaid theme. "Hiya Luffy-chin," she said enthusiastically, surprising Luffy with her peppy voice. "My name's Kami, and I wanted to meet you yesterday, but I got lost in the school." "You already know who I am?" Luffy asked her, getting a nod in reply. "All the girls know about the boy who came into the school. You should have seen their faces when the rumor went around." Kami made a stunned look on her face before giggling. "Anyways Luffy-chin, if you need a club to join, why not try the fashion club? I run it and think you'd be the perfect male model for some of my clothes." So that's why she came over, for recruitment purposes. "I'm flattered Kami-san, I'll think about it for when I sign up later." He got out his textbook, which was about as thick as the table. "Say, would you like to study with me sometimes? I heard Ms. Monet can be pretty tough." Kami gave another stunned face, her eyes bulging out before blushing madly. "Of course Luffy-chin, I would love to study with you sometimes." Luffy heard some girls whispering behind him, calling him names like pervert, and he probably seduced poor Kami. Rolling his eyes, he brought his attention to the front, eyeing the doodles that Kami was doing in her notebook. Ms. Monet's class, for the most part, wasn't that hard at all. Luffy caught on with all the terminology she was spewing, and her icy cold stares were always on him, as if daring him to get a question wrong. She hardly picked any of the other girls and focused all the questions on him. He thanked his lucky stars that some of the lessons Rayleigh taught him stuck in his head enough to appease the cold woman and gain some respect. Kami promised to meet and chat some more at lunch as she had to go to Design 101. Luffy looked at his schedule to see that he had mathematics next with Ms. Belmere. The name sounded familiar to him as he searched the hallways for her door. Eventually he wounded up on the other side of the school before opening the door and walking in. "If it isn't Monkey D. Luffy in the flesh." A feisty lady voice called out to him, breaking the trance he was under. Now he remembered why the name sounded familiar to him. Belmere was a former cop that worked at his grandfather's police force when he was a kid. She was stationed in Kokoyashi Cove along with her 2 daughters. The lady behind the desk was a relatively slim woman with long fuchsia hair tied in a ponytail, gray eyes, and a rather unique hairstyle similar to a mohawk. Her clothes were business casual, mainly a light blue top, blue jeans, and brown boots. She walked up to him and ruffled his black hair. "You've grown a bit since your last visit. How come you don't come by Kokoyashi anymore?" she asked, laughing at his pouting face while he fixed his hair. "I didn't know you were a teacher here. It's great to see you again, Ms. Belmere," he genuinely said, feeling happier to know a teacher here besides Headmistress Shaki. "Nami wouldn't stop talking about you last night. When I heard a young man was going to attend Whole Cake, I was rightly suspicious because both my daughters attend here. When she said it was you, I couldn't wait to see Garp's precious grandson again." Belmere joked, knowing that Luffy hated to be called precious. Luffy just shook his head and took a seat once more up front. Since he was the first in the classroom, he figured he'd sit closer to the board, being that math was not his strongest subject. A few moments later, Nami walked in the door and waved at her mother. Seeing Luffy in the front, she blushed a bit, taking a seat next to him. "Hey," Nami started to say before biting her lip. "It's good to see you again. After yesterday I thought you might have left the school in shambles or something." "No, I decided to stay and prove Lin-Lin-sama wrong. I'm going to stick it out to the end." Giving her a determined look, he flashed one of his big smiles. "After all, one day I'm going to rule this school." Nami beamed with happiness at the prospect of someone like him ruling the school. For as far as she knew, Charlotte Linlin had been the top dog of the school for semesters now that many forgotten who the one before her did. In some ways, Nami respected the class president for tampering down her money-making schemes and her spending habits, while on the other hand she could see Luffy succeeding where she fails. Being the person he was, Nami could tell that Luffy cared about everyone and everything around him. If he did do such a thing, Nami wanted to be the first one to support him. The rest of the class was hard work. Belmere was a very strict teacher who expected much from her students and daughter. Luffy was really grateful that Robin offered to tutor him beforehand because even he was struggling hard with certain equations and formulas. Nami asked if she could join him for lunch, which Luffy was happy to oblige her request. The more people he got to talk with, the better. The club fair would be after lunch, so Luffy hoped his next class was somewhat merciful with the workload. Glancing at his schedule, he noticed that he had gym before lunch. Good, he could work out just before he had to eat. The only problem was with how large this school was. He couldn't find the gym. He tried asking some passing girls, but they would just laugh and scoff at him. Not one to give up, he noticed one girl lugging around a bag of balls before stopping her. "Hey, excuse me, but do you know where the gymnasium is?" he asked her, seeing her face full of curiosity. Luffy had to admit that she was pretty in a tomboyish way with her short, unruly blonde hair, long slender legs, and a slim, curvaceous figure. On her school uniform was a small flower pin. "Oh, do you need directions? I can help you with that." Fumbling with the bag, she tossed it over one shoulder and gestured Luffy to follow her. "Thank you, Miss Marguerite. Nice to meet you, and what a lovely floral pin you've got there," he complimented, making her blush a bit. "I'm pretty sure you've heard of me already." Marguerite shrugged. "I've heard from some girls that a man walks the halls of our school. I thought they were crazy to believe such a rumor. Seeing you now." Her eyes drifted at his body, making her cough in embarrassment. "I don't think you look that bad. You're also polite, which is rare in a man." "Well, I was raised by a manner-oriented woman." Luffy smiled softly, causing Marguerite to notice. "I wish she could see me now, at her alma mater of all places." "Wait, your mother attended Whole Cake? Wow, do you know who she is?" Before Luffy could reply, they had reached the gymnasium and a shrill in front of their faces. There stood Coach Viola, a slender, well-endowed, and light olive-skinned woman of average height. She had her long, slightly wavy dark brown hair pulled back and held in place by a rose, with a lock hanging to the left of her face. Her coaching attire consisted of a white shirt, red shorts, and white sneakers. "Marguerite, nice of you to finally get those supplies for the closet. Go head on to the dressing room and get ready for class." Her voice was as sharp as a dagger and her eyes were narrowed too. Marguerite gave Luffy a quick smile before dropping the bag and heading towards the locker room. "As for you, Mr. Luffy, I have a special place for you to change. Here's your school uniform, you have 5 minutes starting now." Luffy hastily placed his bag on the bleachers and ran towards the outside of the gymnasium. Of course there were no locker rooms for males here. No other guy besides him attended here. He found himself face a doorless changing room that sat on slits while an open window was nearby that smelled of shampoo. There was a tiny showerhead that constantly dripped water, a clogged drain, and rusted pipes. Just one of the many perks of being male. "Marguerite, did you actually get to see the new boy? What was he like? Was he as barbaric as the ones at the juvenile center? Is he cute? Did you get his number?" Gossip was common in the girls' locker room, which was why Coach Viola made the class 10 minutes shorter every day. The girls spent their time getting dressed and chatting up their daily lives. The person in subject of their gossip being Monkey D. Luffy. "Spill the beans. What kind of a man is he?" one of Marguerite's friends, Sweet Pea, asked. "Well, he was very kind and he even complimented Baikuja Pin," Marguerite said, eliciting squeals from the girls. "He's also handsome, you should have seen his hair. It was like silk." "What else did you gather? I highly doubt you just focused on what he looked like." Kikyo, another member of the Kuja gang, wondered aloud. Marguerite pulled her shirt over her head. "Well, he did mention that his mother was an alumni here. I didn't get much more information since we reached the gym." "An alumni student, do you think she joined the Kuja at one point?" Poppy, another girl in the class, thought aloud. "Highly doubt it, all Kuja members only birth females," Pansy called out from behind one of the changing curtains. "Well then, we have to keep a close eye on him then. Who knows what he might do to the leader if he ever saw her. He might try and seduce her or something," Kikyo exclaimed, tying her hair up for class. Aphilandra, one of the tallest girls in school, peered out the open window and started blushing madly. Girls? I think I see the new student." Almost instantaneously, the girls barreled over to the window before blushing madly themselves. Some had to fan their hands as their body temperatures rose up while others covered their noses to keep the blood from gushing out. A select few started screaming with shock. "What is going on over there?" the proud voice of Boa Hancock asked from her private changing room. Her sisters, Marigold and Sandersonia, were also curious to what the rest of the girls were screaming at. Boa opened her curtains to reveal her gym attire as she and her sisters walked towards the window. "Now what on earth are you?" Apparently, Luffy's changing stall not only didn't have a door, but also a roof as well. So what the girls were seeing was Luffy getting undressed right in front of the open window, displaying his abdominal muscles and his sweet bottom for all the girls to see. Not even noticing the girls behind him, he continued to change, stretching himself and putting his body on full parade for the class. Boa felt something stirring deep inside her chest as even her face turned red with infatuation and somewhat lust. This was the boy she heard about that was going to ruin the student body and destroy the school. He didn't look like some threat against girls' integrity or a rapist or even a pervert. In fact, to her at least, he seemed like a kind soul with a gentle heart. Needless to say, Viola had to cancel gym class due to the entire class passing out from severe blood loss. A cancelled gym class due to blood loss and fainting girls? Why do I think that Luffy boy is behind all this? Lin had put the finishing touches on her student council table for the club fair thanks to big brother Katakuri. Said brother was currently helping put up Pudding's table a few down from where she was sitting. Lin brought out her phone to check the school's notifications and saw that there was a massive increase in patients from a message sent by Kaya. Making her headache even more wide was the fact that Luffy had attended the class, thanks to intel from Khalifa. "Why do you think he has a hand in all this? You can't blame that boy for everything, you know." Pudding handed her a cream puff, which Lin happily took. "He's just another student in this school that's trying to get by. That's the problem, he thinks he can run this school better than me. He's planning something, an uprising or takeover or something." Lin bit into the cream puff, allowing the filling to ooze out uncontrollably. "I need to get him scared, spook him out of trying to get along with everyone." Pudding sighed and rolled her eyes as she went back to setting up her cupcake display cases. Katakuri, however, stopping eating her donuts and walked over to his little sister. "You want me to talk to the boy? I'm intimidating enough to scare even the toughest of men." It's true though, Katakuri had a stare technique somewhat similar to his sister. Lin tapped her chin before grinning evilly. "Yes, I think you would do just fine." Turning around, she gave him the best cutesy eye look. "Big brother, will you do me a favor? I thought the only thing to love was sweets and sugar, but maybe I can love something else for a change. I believed that the only way to happiness was through money, but you changed my point of view. Why do you make me so curious? Why does my heart flutter around you? Men aren't meant to be trusted, so why does my heart keep pining for you, when the cherry blossoms fall to the ground? And the scent of perfume fills the air. The air sparkles with a new life and light. As the gates of Whole Cake Academy open for the day. Wow, you got popular fast. Do you even need my help anymore?" The lunch table where Bonnie and Luffy sat at was now slightly packed with some new faces. Girls all around the cafeteria started to notice the rising number of girls sitting with the only boy in the school. Luffy sat across from Bonnie, who once again was stuffing her face with giant slices of pizza. Nami sat next to Luffy, blushing as she bit into a sandwich that she packed for lunch. Kami sat next to Bonnie, doodling some more fashion designs for her club while sipping her tropical fruit smoothie. Kaya was chowing down on a salad, sitting next to Nami on the other side. To everyone's shock, even the school's residential smart girl Nico Robin was reading quietly on the other side of Bonnie, not even bothered by the girl's piggish eating. It was shocking to say the least, but Luffy didn't mind. He was just happy to have some people to talk to. "Sorry Bonnie, I didn't realize how many people were going to join us for lunch today," Luffy said, stuffing his face with another bite of meat. Kami asked if she could go over stuff with me and the rest of them I met throughout the day. "Are you fine with us sitting with you Luffy-chin?" Kami asked, not wanting to intrude. Luffy waved his hands. "It's fine really, I'm happy that all of you guys wanted to eat lunch with us. I just find you fascinating, Straw Hat-san." Robin's quiet voice rung out over the loudness of the cafeteria. "You seem so calm under pressure and not one thinks so rashly before making a decision." Robin does have a point. "You do seem to have an air of calmness to you," Kaya put out politely, sipping her drink. I don't know why you have a hard time making friends here." Before Luffy could reply, the loud ringing noise was heard around the whole cafeteria, even at the table as the phones of every girl rung out. Almost immediately, every girl looked down on their phones before suddenly giving Luffy mean stares and glares. Confused, he glanced at the girls at his table who all had horrified looks on their faces sans Robin who had her mouth covered in shock. "What's going on? Why is everyone looking at me like that?" he asked them, getting more worried looks from the girls at the table. "I can't believe she sent this out to everyone. Has she gone mad?" Nami asked in surprise. "Oh my, to think she'd stoop so low," Robin chuckled, with a hint of icy undertone. "Luffy, I'm going to show you what just got sent out. Please don't be mad at the president and try to hurt her," Bonnie said, showing Luffy her phone. Luffy scanned over the contents on the screen before feeling himself get angrier and angrier. That was going too far, even for this girl. How dare she drag his name into the ground? He had done nothing wrong to the girl and yet she continued to antagonize him. Getting up abruptly from the table, he walked through the lunchroom of girls, dumped his food, and left in a hurry. "Luffy," Nami whispered, feeling saddened at what had occurred. "I can't believe Lin-Lin-sama would do something like that," Kaya exclaimed, shaking her head. "That girl just loves to drag others to the ground for her own glory. No matter whose life she has to ruin, she just does it with that stupid smile on her face." Bonnie growled, stuffing her face full of pizza. "I just hope that Luffy-chin doesn't do anything rash," Kami wondered aloud, looking down at her phone. Robin just watched Luffy leave, a feeling of anger bubbling on her usual calm face. Charlotte Linlin got rid of the last president by using this same method. Turning the whole school against that girl and making her leave the school after so much bullying. "This injustice will not stand any longer. Sister, what you did was downright evil and cruel. How could you say all those rude things about him?" The pink-haired girl was now sitting down at the student council booth with a wide smirk on her face while Pudding glared at her from the bakery club booth. Linlin was filing her nails, a plate full of cookies on her side. Katakuri sat nearby, hiding behind a tree to enjoy his box of donuts. Linlin laughed snarkily at her sister, flipping her hair. "I'm just doing everything and anything to get that stupid monkey out of my school. If that means making up a couple of lies to get rid of him, then I don't see the problem with it. It's how politics works after all." Pudding sighed, frosting the last of her cupcakes. "This is all going to bite you back in the bottom. You did the same thing last year to that poor girl for the right to be president and you are following the same path. Don't you feel any remorse for what you've done?" Before Linlin could reply, the sound of footsteps were heard as someone stood in front of her. In front of her was a small girl, a first year by the looks of it, with short orange hair, brown eyes, and freckles. Her school uniform was a long white shirt, big red bow, navy skirt, and long white socks with brown loafers. The unique feature about her was the cute white rabbit-eared hat on her head. "Madam President," the young lady proclaimed, her face determined but cute. Linlin sighed before putting on her own cutesy face. "Did you need something?" The young girl saluted. "Carrot ma'am. I'm here on behalf of the school's disciplinary squad on orders for your misconduct." Linlin broke face for a second before regaining her face, laughing lightly. "Whatever are you talking about? I'm the school's president for goodness sake," cursing inwardly. She gave a quick smile to Carrot. "Besides, you couldn't be on the disciplinary squad yet. The club recruitment hasn't started yet." Suddenly, she got a face full of paper courtesy of Carrot. "I actually got recruited on recommendation from my old school, Mink Middle." Wagging her finger in front of her face, Carrot stuck a carrot in her mouth. "Now about your false accusations on a certain student. Excuse me, but do you have any proof I did any of those heinous acts against Monkey D. Luffy?" Linlin snarled, trying to dissuade her from asking more questions. Carrot smirked back at her. "I never said anything about the student being Mr. Luffy in general, but since you just admitted sending that long text, this makes my job easier." Linlin grimaced as she realized she was found out by a first year no less. Narrowing her eyes, she walked up to Carrot, sending off a wave of intimidating aura over her. "You wouldn't dare to leak that information out. I will make your life a living hell if you do that. I am in total control over this whole school and not even a little brat like you." The pink-haired girl went and pushed Carrot backwards. Before the small girl could hit the ground, she was caught in the arms of a muscular man. Linlin's eyes widened as she noticed Luffy holding the small girl in his arms. An angry look was on his face, one that Linlin had never seen before on him. His aura was similar to hers when she got angry. "Are you okay, miss?" Luffy asked her, making Carrot gaze at him with admiration. "Yes, sir. Thank you for the assist." Carrot wiped her skirt off, bowing politely. "I was investigating the long text message that was sent by the president on the rights of the disciplinary council. As I confronted her, she got aggressive and tried to attack me." Luffy clenched his fists as he glared at Linlin, who stepped back in shock. "How could you? Even after trying to be your friend. You resorted to cheap tactics in order to get rid of me." Katakuri walked over and stood in front of the shaking Linlin. "Are you threatening my little sister here? Do you want to cause trouble right here?" Luffy crossed his arms and gazed upwards at the tall man. "No, I don't harm women like her, even if they do threaten my life. I'm just asking why she did such a thing in the first place." Katakuri narrowed his eyes. "Oh, now really, are you certain you want to do this here, making a fist? I wouldn't have it any other way." Carrot watched back and forth as the growing aura of intimidation rose between them. The young girl gazed at Luffy with a growing smile on her face. "He seems like a strong man, wonder what his future will hold. Next time. Luffy. I take on one of the toughest thugs in the city, but we have worse things to come at the school. Linlin. In order to round out the school numbers, I've invited some new students straight from New World Penitentiary. Black Maria. Oh, is this the whole Cake Academy? Ulti. This might be a fun new territory for Kaido. Luffy. Who are those strange new students and why are they trying to attack me? Carrot. Next time, Beastie Girls, Luffy's deadliest adversaries. Nami. In which Luffy meets a new ally and some new foes. I thought the only thing to love was sweets and sugar, but maybe I can love something else for a change. I believed that the only way to happiness was through money, but you changed my point of view. Why do you make me so curious? Why does my heart flutter around you? Men aren't meant to be trusted, so why does my heart keep pining for you, when the cherry blossoms fall to the ground? And the scent of perfume fills the air. The air sparkles with a new life and light. As the gates of Whole Cake Academy opened for the day, Luffy stared down the large man who towered over him. Standing behind him was the petite form of Carrot, who was staring at him with an awe look on her face. Behind the large man was the smirking face of Linlin, who was eagerly taking out her phone. Now she had the proof she needed to expel this young man and nobody would be the wiser. All her brother had to do was beat him to a bloody pulp, have her record the whole fight, turn into headmistress Shaki, and the boy would be out of her hair. Back to wherever the heck he came from and her reign would continue for the next 2 years. The two young men continued to stare at each other, both waiting for the other to make a move. Katakuri stepped forward, his shadow casting an eerie presence over Luffy and Carrot. The bunny hag girl held onto Luffy's arm, scared for once in her life. The young man gave her a reassuring look before glaring at the man. If you are going to do something, spare her from whatever you have planned, Luffy told Katakuri, gritting his teeth. Do your worst to me, but leave her out of this. I never intended to harm Linlin-san, but I wanted to know why she spread those false rumors about me. False rumors? What are you talking about? My sister doesn't do things like that, Katakuri said, surprised by the accusations. She told me that you threatened her the other day and put your hands on her. Now it was Luffy's turn to be surprised. Say what now? I never did anything like that to her. She fainted the other day and I helped her to the nurse's office. I never placed my hands on her nor did I threaten her life. She spread that rumor around the whole school and now nobody wants to even look in my direction. If it wasn't for Carrot, I wouldn't have known about her other scandals in this school. Turning his head to Linlin, he gave her a saddened face. Why do you hate me so much? I'm just trying to be friends with everyone here and you are the most difficult person to gain friendship from. Linlin gritted her teeth, feeling her whole world crumble down at that moment. At the moment, the school had finally let the students come out to come find their new clubs and started to gather around them. Whispers were heard as she felt herself trembling with anger. How dare you say those mean things about me? You would do anything to make sure I don't keep my president status. You're just some boy who doesn't even belong here. This is an all-girl school and you're turning our reputation into a mockery. Walking ahead of her older brother, she got in Luffy's face before raising a hand to slap him. "Do us all a favor and just die. It would be better if you were gone and out of my sight." Crack! Carrot covered her mouth as she watched the small body of the school president fall to the ground. Katakuri stood over his sister's body, picking her up in his arms. Luffy and the rest of the students were shocked that he had just knocked out his own sister. With eyes full of remorse, he silently walked away, off school grounds and around the corner till he wasn't seen. Luffy watched him go, a feeling of hopelessness lingering in his own heart. The face that Katakuri held was one of regret and guilt, a face he was well accustomed with. It was quite obvious that he held Linlin at a high regard and only wanted what was best for his sister. Hearing about all the horrible acts she had committed must have crushed something in his own soul. Excuse me, sir?" The small voice of Carrot interrupted his thoughts as he turned to the shy girl. "I wanted to thank you for defending me against Linlin's big brother. I wasn't sure if he was going to harm you or not, but I would have stepped in and defended you if needed." Blushing, she turned her face away, hiding her own eyes with her hat. "You didn't have to fight for my honor, but you did, thanks." "No problem, even if I hadn't known you or even talked to you before, I don't let anyone I can trust get hurt." He patted her head, giving a trademark grin. "My gramps always told me to treat ladies like queens and to never make a girl cry. So if you ever need me to defend your honor like you did with mine, I will gladly throw my hat in the ring for you." He turned to the rest of the crowd. "Do you hear me, Whole Cake Academy? I'm not someone who would harm a lady if it hurts me. If any of you need a shoulder to cry on, a person to fight for you, or even someone to talk to, you can rely on me. Like the captain of a ship, it's my duty to make sure your needs are met. That's the kind of man I am. Not someone as atrocious as Linlin wants you to think. I don't care if you hate me or not, I will do everything in my power to become your friend." In the crowd, Bonnie smirked happily at his proclamation, feeling as if a new age to the school had come. Kami clapped her hands silently while Kaya just gave a soft smile. Robin chuckled a bit, but felt truth in the words he said. Nami felt her cheeks heat up at his speech, falling even more in love with her childhood savior. Even the strong-willed Boa Hancock, who had been released from the nurse's office, had her heart racing by his words and desired to find out more about the Straw Hat Boy. The rest of the girls clapped at his speech. Even Pudding found herself rooting for the new boy to make it the entire year. Carrot grinned at his speech, tugging her hat in happiness. "Say, Luffy, you still need a club to join, right? So you got suspended from your president duties and grounded, huh? Not surprising due to the display of anger and deceit you showcased today." Khalifa had not been present for Linlin's blow-up since she was in the disciplinary office filing papers. When the vice president heard that the sweet girl went off at the boy, she was shocked to hear that she would be acting president until Linlin's suspension was over. Now she was in her bedroom, her laptop set up to chat with the pink-haired girl as she painted her nails. "I won't be in school for a week since I had done so many heinous acts in the past year. Until I return, keep that Luffy in your sights. Make sure that if he slips up to capture it on camera," Linlin whispered, not wanting her siblings to barge in and see her talking to Khalifa. The bespectacled girl nodded. "But of course, Madam President, I'll make sure to keep the school in check and have a close eye on the boy. Anything else I should do in the meantime before I have to do my homework?" Linlin rubbed her palms, an evil grin forming on her face. "I heard he made some kind of speech after Keita-kun escorted me off the premises. Something about never harming a girl of any kind, eh? Where are you getting with this? Don't tell me you have another plan to get him expelled, do you? I know he got into a club, so that plan is out the window. Listen up, I made a deal with the headmistress that I could even out the attendance rate by allowing some new female students to attend the academy on a scholarship. I'm guessing these new students are going to help boost your evil plans in some way. Very well then, I shall contact these students immediately and activate their scholarships." Khalifa put this new information into her planner. "So who are these new students you plan on having attend?" Linlin made a sickeningly sweet smile. "Just a favor I owe the Beast Gang of Wano County." "Oh, is this Whole Cake Academy? Looks too girly for my taste." "You're just overlooking it, Maria. I think this might be a fun new territory for Kaido." Standing at the gates of the academy were two very tall female girls. One was a second year and the other a first-year student. Both holding large backpacks in their hands with the Beast Gang symbol on them. The first year was a long-legged lady with long hair that went down mid-back and forms rounded locks mainly dark in coloration, but with thin, light streaks running through. Blunt bangs fall on her forehead, split on the left due to a foreign ahoge atop her head. A cute headband that resembled bullhorns rested on her head. She wore the school uniform with the addition of a black cape around her neck and a mask on her mouth. Her eyes were bright green, scanning the school grounds with a curious glance. The second year was well-proportioned lady with her silver hair done in a geisha girl bun, her eyes matching the hair color. She had her own horned headband that was decorated with cherry blossoms. Her school uniform was decorated with the cherry blossom style, a couple of buttons towards the top unbuttoned. The shoes she wore were high heels. Her lips were bright red with the lipstick she placed on it, a light cigarette poking out. Blowing smoke, she gave a grin to her smaller companion. Got to hand it to little Linlin, she and Kaido's alliance made it easier for us to get into the school. Tossing the used cigarette to the ground, she stomped on it with the heel of her shoe. Plus, she said there was a slight pest problem here too. Ulti gave Maria an eye roll. Oh please, we deal with pest all the time. What makes this one any different? This one had the nerve to defy her rules and even got her suspended. Anyone who can get sweet Queen Linlin mad has got to be interesting. I believed that the only way to happiness was through money, but you changed my point of view. Why do you make me so curious? Why does my heart flutter around you? Men aren't meant to be trusted, so why does my heart keep pining for you, when the cherry blossoms fall to the ground? And the scent of perfume fills the air. The air sparkles with a new life and light. As the gates of Whole Cake Academy open for the day, I can't believe you invited me to join your little club. When I said that Luffy needed a club to join, I didn't expect this. Bonnie couldn't fathom how she ended up in these scenarios. On one hand, she knew Luffy was a good young man who held qualities that any girl would kill for. On the other hand, he had started to make friends with almost every influential girl in the academy by basically being himself. That's why she was in this club room an hour before school, since she got a text from Robin about something urgent. Carrot smiled at the front of the room where a big banner showcased Luffy's face for the entire room to see. Speaking of, the ones in the room were her. Bonnie, who was eating her morning breakfast. Robin, who was reading quietly in the corner. Nami was doing some homework. Kami messed around with her portable sewing machine. Kaya was also reading. And surprisingly, Vivi was the only one paying attention to the rather large banner in the front of the room. To be fair, I didn't expect that many people to be here today. Most of the girls here have been avoiding Luffy out of pure spite or propaganda from Linlin. Carrot mused, looking down at her notes. I just feel like he had no right to be bullied like that. Linlin makes sure that everyone is separate, but Luffy is bringing us all together. Vivi smiled. It's true, I've never seen someone like him walk these halls and cause so much trouble by doing nothing but be friendly. Luffy isn't an evil boy. Sure, he might be a bit naive and hard-headed, but he's kind and would do anything for his friends, Kaya said, earning the attention of her fellow girls. Usopp tells me how Luffy would hang out with him and their group back at their old school. Luffy was part of what they call the Monster Trio, and they protected the weaker boys at the school. So being kind is in Straw Hat's nature, Robin said, leaning on her hand. Interesting. Luffy Chin is going to have the best defense against any girl who tries to harm him. Kami pumped her fist with a determined look. So what are we going to do? First we have classes to go to, then after school we catch up with Luffy and tell him about this club. Carrot said, passing around a box. Everyone, take a support Luffy button and stick it somewhere on you. I don't care where you place it, just make sure people see it. This seems a bit stupid. Bonnie took a button and placed it on her hat. I mean, who else in this entire school would want to wear these silly buttons with Luffy's face on them? Sister, are you sure you want to wear that button around the school? Many girls are going to ask you why you would want to support this rebel. You certain you are up to that task? Hancock sighed happily as she placed her button on her backpack strap while opening her locker up for the day. Ever since she heard Luffy's speech and saw his family jewels, before fainting, she had a small crush on the Straw Hat boy. He seemed kind and brave and big husband material when she graduated. Perhaps they could live in a small cottage outside the city, with a few dozen children, and he could have a nice job while she worked alongside him. The rest of the Kuja gang and her sisters watched as she opened her locker to reveal numerous photos of Luffy in various positions and outfits. Hancock bit her lip as she blushed red and rubbed her face against the one picture of a close-up of his face. "I don't care if our love is forbidden or unrequited, I just want him happy and dating me." Hancock sighed happily, hearts in her eyes. Is it wrong to fall in love with a boy who cares about women not for their beauty, but also their brains? "Just don't let it interrupt your studies, okay?" Sandersonia said, shaking her head and chuckling. "Your future is yours to command, so don't let your crazy ideas about marriage and dating stop it." "Ooh, here he comes. Here he comes," Marguerite exclaimed, shaking Hancock by the arm. The leader of the Kuja gang slammed her locker closed as her red face matched the hearts in her eyes as Luffy walked by. She went to say hi to him, only to be stopped by two girls that dwarfed her size completely and stepped in the way of his path. Mad at the prospect of more females to pick on her beloved, she spied on them from afar. Good morning, ladies," Luffy said politely, waving at the tall girls. "This is the boy that suspended Linlin from school." Ulti leaned over and glared directly at him. "He's nothing but a scrawny punk." "Ulti, we aren't aware of how he beat Linlin, but that we know he beat her," Maria interrupted, making the masked girl growl at her tone. She turned back to Luffy, who was now on edge at the moment. "Now back to the matter at hand. We are Ulti and Maria, new students on the Whole Cake Scholarship Program. We came all the way from Wano County to attend school here in order to gain more in our lives." "That's cool." Luffy grinned, holding his hand out. "I'm Monkey D. Luffy, a pleasure to." Boa Hancock held in a scream as she watched Ulti grab his hand and slam him against the wall. The rest of the Kuja gang cried out in horror as the masked girl twisted his arm all the way to his back, making Luffy hiss with pain. "Did we give you permission to talk to us?" Ulti spat, stepping her heeled shoes on his now sore back. "You need to learn your place, boy. Linlin was treating you too well here, probably had a crush on you or something. We, on the other hand, won't tolerate weak little boys like you. There's going to be a few changes around here to make you learn your place." Maria walked forward, bringing Luffy's face up to hers. "We know you won't harm girls and that you treat them with respect. You have a moral code and can't raise hands since that would result in your expulsion, but we have no qualms of harming you. Until Linlin gets back here, consider yourself the target of the Beast Gang." Dropping his face to hit the hard ground, she got up and stood next to Ulti, who had finally let him go. That was a warning for anyone who associates themselves with the boy. You won't be spared from our new order. Hancock waited until the two behemoths left the halls before running towards Luffy's unconscious form. His arm was purple and bruised from the twist, his face was bloodied, and there were noticeable hole marks on his back. He was in serious pain from what she could see, cradling his head on her chest. "Lady Hancock." Marguerite came to her side along with the others. "We need to take Luffy to the nurse's office." Hancock nodded, not wanting to let go of the man she now started to have feelings for. "We need to get him there fast. I don't care if I miss class for this. Those beasts are going to pay for harming my Luffy." In the shadows of the hall, another female had witnessed Ulti and Maria harm Luffy physically and was disgusted on the poor treatment of the male. She was more shocked by the fact that those two wore the mark of the Beasts Gang. "How can they be here of all places?" Her voice wavered, hiding subtly in the shadows when the two passed her. "I can't believe they would hurt Ace's brother like that." Biting her lip, she brought out her phone and dialed the familiar number she had grown accustomed to for years. "Hello? Ace, it's me. Yamato. No way, it's been forever since you've called. How has your final year of high school been going? Whole Cake sounds like a fun place." Yamato bit back a burning insult at the fact that she wasn't even in college yet with her old friend due to the last-minute transfer of her school. In order to get away from her father, she had to change identities and go undercover at a new school. Ace and his family allowed her to live with them for the time being, claiming her as their niece. While eternally grateful for what they've done for her, she was starting to see the past catch up. "It has been a great experience, I've ever been to. Now isn't the time to be catching up yet." Her voice turned serious as she watched that Hancock girl take Luffy to the nurse's office. "I've seen your little brother and he's here at the academy. And he's being targeted by my father, when the cherry blossoms fall to the ground. And the scent of perfume fills the air. The air sparkles with a new life and light. As the gates of Whole Cake Academy open for the day. Ace, where are you going? We have class in 15 minutes. The older brother of the Straw Hat Boy was currently packing an overnight bag in his dorm room. He attended the Raftel University with Sabo, who was also making an overnight bag in his room. When Ace got a call from Yamato about Luffy being a target of bullying, he couldn't say no to his baby brother being injured. As he was packing, his two childhood friends watched him, one of them helping him pack. My baby brother is in danger, Deuce. I can't leave him alone with those crazy chicks with their hormones and lipstick. Ace stopped, sensing the vermilion female who helped him pack glaring at him. Apologies, Asuka. I didn't mean it like that. Course you'd say that, Ace. No girl would ever want to date someone as impulsive as you. Asuka snarked, throwing a pair of underwear at his face. Don't you think you're being overprotective with your little bro? The blue-haired guy lounging on one of the beds looked over at Asuka, rolling his eyes. Believe me, Asuka, if it isn't Luffy, it's either Yamato, Tama, or Sabo. Ace has way too many siblings to keep track of. Ace gave his roommate a stink eye before slamming down his suitcase. I'll only be gone for 3 days, so any work I have to make up will be during my absence. Deuce, make sure that anyone who comes looking for me knows I'm gone. Deuce gave him a thumbs up. Sure thing, bro. Asuka gave him a worried look. Just make sure your brother is okay. I hate for the one you consider your precious baby brother to be hurt so badly. Ace slung his suitcase over his shoulder. I'll make sure of that. Just make sure that his dad nor my dad know anything about me leaving. In fact, make sure my mother doesn't find out too. Luffy is like another child for her. So not only do you want us to keep a secret from the headmaster, but also his equally protective wife too? You owe us big time, Portgas, Deuce complained, slumping over his bed. Ace gave them both a cocky smile. Come now, what could go wrong? No way. Your baby brother was harmed by a bully attack? Sabo shook his head as Koala and Hack helped him pack his stuff. His roommate and his girlfriend had heard that Luffy had been bullied and wanted to help Sabo pack for the long trip, of course. You guys didn't have to pack half my closet up. I'm just leaving for a few days to keep him safe and make sure an incident like this doesn't happen again. He reassured them, taking a large sweater out of Hack's hand. Why would you even attempt to pack this knowing it's not anywhere close to winter yet? You never know if Lil Luffy will need some comfort. He seems like the type to love big fluffy sweaters. Hack argued, but put the sweater back in the closet. Do you need some backup? You can inform Professor Ivankov and Professor Dragon about this. Koala paused before giving him a look. Why didn't you tell your adopted father? You know Luffy is the only reminder of, you know? Sabo sighed, slinging the bag over his shoulder. I've already told Shanks and Makino because we have to stay over with them for the time being. Shanks is already fuming at the fact that his precious nephew had gotten injured at a school that boasts top security. I don't need to bring up the fact that Luffy's dad would absolutely call his granddad, who may I remind you is part of the police, and then this whole mess will get worse. Yeah, you got a point. Make sure you keep Ace out of trouble. It's what I do. Luffy groaned as he held his head. His vision was blurred, trying to get the fuzzy images out of his eyes. Struggling to remember what had happened, he sat up to find his head wrapped up in bandages and he had cuts and bruises all over his body. Realizing this is the second time this week he had landed in the nurse's office, he just shook his head. I'm starting to get used to these white walls already, he thought, looking out the window sullenly. Those two girls caught me off guard. They must be new threats to the school sent by that heinous class president. Why does she hate me so much? A sudden shift in weight caused him to pause his thoughts. Looking forward, he noticed someone sleeping on his numb legs. It was that one girl he heard so much about, this Boa Hancock girl who ran the school's beautification club. He also heard that she was one of the most beautiful and popular girl in school. So why was she here, nuzzling gently at his legs? Luffy felt himself blush slightly at his upper-class woman. The rumors were true, she is quite a beauty to behold. Hancock stirred before fluttering open her long lashes. Huh. Oh, I must have fallen asleep after helping him here. She looked up to see Luffy staring down at her before blushing madly. Oh, I didn't know you were awake, getting up frantically. She bowed her head. Very sorry for doing that. I just saw that you were injured and brought you here to the nurse's office. I did my best to treat you since the doctoring was teaching her class. Luffy smiled at the strong female. Thank you, I appreciate that. Not many girls in this school would have done what you did. I'm grateful for you rescuing me. He gently placed his hands with hers, causing the red-faced maiden to deepen her blush. You're a lifesaver, Miss Hancock. Hancock felt her soul exit her body then and there. All those who spoke ill against Luffy's name were surely mistaken. He was a kind, sweet, and a gentleman to all who respected him. Her palms started to get sweaty, making her yank her hands out of his to wave them around a bit. My goodness, what is happening to me? I've never felt this wave of emotions wash upon me before. Hancock covered her face, making Luffy a bit worried about her. We held hands like they do in those romance novels. I guess the next part says that we should go on a date and exchange pet names. Her ears were steaming up at the prospect of them going out on a date. And then he may even try to kkkkkk. Hancock, are you doing alright? Luffy asked her, patting her on the back. Suddenly, Hancock passed out on his legs, making him yelp in surprise. Hancock-san, are you okay? She'll be fine, though I do believe this is the first time I've ever seen the mighty Boa Hancock faint from something. A teasing voice said from the door, causing Luffy to look up before bursting into a grin. Yamato Onisan, as much as he wanted to go up and hug her, he had to make sure that Hancock was okay. Gently laying her down on the infirmary bed, he ran towards the towering lady he had grown up with and hugged her. What are you doing at Whole Cake? Last I heard, you were studying at Wano High. Yamato hugged the boy she considered her honorary little brother and smiled wistfully. Ace helped me escape from that horrid place. My father wasn't so happy with me being gone for all those years and trapped me within those prison walls he calls a school. Ruffling his hair, she placed the straw hat on it. Now I'm here under the guise of Kazuki Oden thanks to Headmistress Shaki. I'm trying to finish up my final year here so that I can join Ace and Sabo at their college. Luffy grinned widely, gripping his trusty hat. That's great, I've made many friends here so you'll have to meet them all at lunch. He dropped his face into a frown. However, it seems that I have made enemies as well. President Linlin wants me expelled or dead, and I don't know the reason why. What I do know is that those two new girls beat me up on her orders. Yamato bit back a growl. I know those two, Ulti and Black Maria. They're from my father's gang and he's close allies with the Charlotte family. No doubt those two are teaming up once more. She slung her arm around his shoulder. Don't worry, little brother, I'll protect you from those two. I'm still Kaido's daughter at the end of the day and have the strength to back that up. Plus, I think Ace and Sabo are coming to visit us. Luffy nodded, feeling a bit safer with his trusted big sister and new friends to help him out. Although, when Linlin returned from her suspension, would that be enough? He didn't want to harm her in any way. What could he do to convince her that he just wanted to be friends? Next episode. A school trip to the mountains can bring about some new feelings. Luffy. Hey Nami. Let's go down this path. The view is amazing. Nami. I'm so glad I get to spend time with him. A hike in the woods can grow into something more. Next time. The height of happiness. Nami, Luffy, and the hiking trail.